Welcome back to another Pokemon What If Wednesday, where every Wednesday morning we go through last week's investing and collecting questions, where your guys' questions will actually be featured in the video, and one person's question will help me make the thumbnail every single week. So please drop your questions down below for a chance to be in next week's video, and if I did comment to you saying great question, I might use this and I didn't, please drop that same question again and put repeat question and get moved to the top. And I'm not saying I'm some guru who just knows everything, but when I'm unsure, I like to talk it out with a few people. It always helps me make my final decision. And I have been in the hobby for almost 30 years, so I've been here since it started. And we do have to do the question of the day. What is your all-time favorite Japanese exclusive Pokemon card? And we do have to give a quick thanks to our video sponsor, and that is Arizona TCG. If you guys got a bunch of slabs you're looking to sell, PSA, CGC, tag, it does not matter, and you want thousands and thousands of eyes on your auctions, and you do not want to deal with a bunch of people lowballing you having to ship cards out every other day, Arizona TCG is perfect. One of the best price consignment services in the game. They scan your cards professionally too, which helps a ton. So definitely check them out. I'll have all the links in the description. Then, of course, you guys want to try out tag grading for your first time, click the link. Use the code BEARD102, you get 10% off your first submission. And same thing with PSA. Click the link, use the code BEARD25, you get $25 off your first submission. Just got to use a new email every time for that. And if you guys like giveaways and you guys like my Market Monday and my Following Friday, definitely download the FANATICS Select app. Just got to type in Pokebeard up there and follow my channel there. Every Thursday and Sunday, 7 p.m. Central, I'll be live in the chat doing a giveaway, and we actually find out who wins the giveaway at the very end of the video. So it's a ton of fun. And then I'm also going to be vending in St. Louis, Missouri this weekend, July 31st through August 2nd. Coop, Beard Dad, Eric from Violet City. Going to be a ton of fun. Use the code POKEBEARD to receive $5 off your tickets. Hope to see you there, bringing all my life-size statues. But all right, first question. This is from Tuki. Hey, Beard. Congrats to you and Mrs. Beard. Thank you. I was able to secure both 30th drops so far, except the tins, but I noticed that the length of the pre-order was much longer. I heard that 20th and 25th were printed a bunch and that you can find around MSRP on the secondary market. Are you anticipating the same to happen for the 30th? We are seeing the recent sets get pretty close to MSRP. So I do not think that's going to happen. In my opinion, the only reason why these three sets are tanking, Chaos Rising, Perfect Order, and Pitch Black, there are three worst sets we've got in a long time, and it was literally dead middle of summer when that happened. So that combo alone is going to make a ton of stuff drop. And I've been here forever. We have a summer slump every year. We had one last summer before that. Every boom, we've had a summer slump. And even some big time creators are starting being like, oh, just wait. The crash is coming next just because we had this little downturn. But like I've said it many times, I don't think the market is going to let the market actually crash. There's so many people, too, that know how to manipulate everything, that a group of like 100 people can manipulate this entire market and make everything go crazy, and then people get FOMO, and then they start buying, and then boom, we're in a boom again. But in my opinion, the biggest difference between the 30th and the 25th and the 20th is the 30th is like legitimately the best set we've ever gotten. We're still getting leaks, and we're not sure what's real, what's fake. Like, this set is crazy. The promos are top tier, and I genuinely feel like this will be the most scalped set in Pokemon history because it's just stacked, and it has some of the most popular Pokemon ever and so much original art. That was the big downfall of the 25th anniversary, is it just did not have a lot of original art. Even the 20th anniversary blows the 25th anniversary out of the water when it comes to art. Reprint-wise, the 25th anniversary is a super good set, and then also getting like the Gold Star Greninja and, Gold Star Umbreon, like that's just craziness. But the 30th is just one of a kind. And like I said, the promos are just insane, and all the products so far are super, super good. I really don't think there's going to be a time where you can walk into a Walmart and find any of these products, especially too, I'm going to guess the pull rates are going to be really, really good because they usually are for anniversary sets. So a lot of people are going to want to open this. Like, I almost want to open this. Like, if this set has really, really good pull rates, there's a chance I might want to open a bunch of this because it's just going to be so much fun. I'm just normally so cheap, and pull rates are so rough for a lot of sets that I just hate opening up boxes, spending a ton of money, and not actually pulling anything. But if it's got good pull rates, like Crown Zenith, super fun set. I basically pulled like 95% of all the cards, and it really didn't even cost me that much money. So I got pretty lucky. And honestly, the 25th anniversary really didn't sit on the shelves that much either. I mean, it was pretty scalped right away. Like, I remember standing in line to get my Celebrations ETBs, and there was hundreds of people waiting in line at Punch-Out to get it at MSRP. But the 20th anniversary, that was kind of a different time. Next is from the Unvaulted Collector. Oh, wise bearded wizard at the end of the Yellow Brick Road. I was wondering what your opinion is on the 20th anniversary products. You were always talking about Celebrations now that the 30th has come around, but it seems like everyone has forgotten about the 20th. The set recently had a boom, and it seems like the boxes are leveling out again. Do you think now is a good time to pick up the Mythical Pin Collection boxes and the Red and Blue Collection boxes? I try to do a lot more affordable stuff, but I literally made a video one time about all these boxes, and the prices were $180, $200 on all these, you know, the mythical collection boxes, Darkrai, Jirachi, Celebi, Manaphy, and Mew. Mew is always a little bit more. Such nice boxes. This is one of the best sets for like display wise for your box, because you got a beautiful first ever illustration rares right there displayed front and center on the box. They're just tiny boxes, so you don't get a ton of packs. But the red and blue collection's crazy. Yeah, these boxes are some of the best boxes we've ever gotten for display, because you actually get a super cool figure, you're getting the promo, and you're getting 4 packs, and the arts on the packs are just so clean. I actually wish I had these. I opened them all up for my promos, but this is actually a dream set of mine, sealed wise. But every time I see them, there's dents, tears, everything, every single time. And then whenever I check on eBay, there's never any super minty ones. But yeah, they're expensive. Pikachu's, you know, $2,500, and that is the most expensive. But honestly, I could see these being $5,000 boxes one day. Because if you actually take this collection box and compare it to every collection box we've ever gotten, it's some of the best artwork we've ever gotten, some of the most popular Pokemon ever. You're getting a figure, and it's an anniversary set. So it's literally top tier. We got the super premium collection Mew and Mewtwo over here, but I actually don't like that box as much as the red and blue ones. Just top tier. Next is from Zyfryan. Hey Beard, was wondering when I should pick up the Aerodactyl V, Rayquaza V Max, Zekrom EX 172, and Reshiram EX 173. Also, is the Lucario V-Star Alt-Art a good card to invest in, as it's only $12 and it could follow a similar path to Alt-Art Tag Team promos? Yes, I think the Lucario V-Star is a solid pickup for sure. And the Aerodactyl V is on its way down right now. So it was at like 230. Now it's at like 220. Last sold we even have at 210, 211. So just keep watching it. It'll probably get back down to 180. Let's check the 1 year. See, the 1 year low was a $115 card a year ago. And you know what's funny is a year ago we were in a summer slump, because people act like, you know, the summer slump just doesn't exist, but it definitely does. And that was dead middle of the boom also. So in my opinion, just wait a little bit longer, follow this down, and hopefully you can pick it up for, you know, maybe even $100 cheaper. And the Rayquaza VMAX, that's a different story, because we have the Rayquaza set coming. So I could actually see that card getting really, really expensive. So I could see that having like another big boom. And the Zekrom and Reshiram, I think, are still pretty solid pickups. Next is from Ash Ravi. Hi, Pokebeard. I'm a big fan, and congrats on your wife's second pregnancy. Thank you. I wanted to ask about Chinese exclusives and Pokemon cards. What exactly counts as Chinese exclusives? Where are the best places to buy those cards, and how many are there in total? I'd love to learn more about them. So there's a creator of this hobby. Her name is Crystal Collects. She is honestly one of the goats when it comes to like anything foreign language. But she has a website where you can buy, you know, simplified Chinese boxes and Japanese boxes. But she has an entire list here of every single Chinese exclusive. And a Chinese exclusive just means it has not been printed in any other language. So there is a bunch of just more commons and stuff like that that you can get. Some really cool ones too. The whole Charizard line, Venusaur, Blastoise. I've been thinking about picking those up. You can even get full arts and rainbows. And you got the legendary birds too. And then you got a couple Radiants here. And then here it actually shows all the SIRs. And she's very up to date. Like it has a new Sylveon here. So this has everything. And then we got some gold cards even. And then it shows all the different art rares and stuff from each set. So I strongly, strongly recommend collecting these, especially before it gets too crazy and there's hundreds and hundreds of Chinese exclusives. And then it'd be like, you know, starting over, starting fresh with Japanese exclusives and trying to catch up. It's just not possible. So big fan of all these. Like I said, that Applin is the newest one, so I need the Applin. And otherwise I have pretty much the majority of them now for illustration rares and special illustration rares, or art rares as they're called, except the Mew here. This is the numbered Mew. Very expensive. Like I'm talking like $60K in a PSA 10. But I think it would even be cool to get like the Venusaur, Charizard, and Blastoise, like actually graded in 10s, and same with the Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. I just think that'd be kind of clean. But I might have to look those up and see what they're going for in 10s. Next is from John McCrary. Question, do you think crystal cards are slept on? Most of the time they are lower pop than gold stars, especially the reverse. I like crystal cards way more than gold stars. I just feel like when you actually take them both out of the sleeve and you put them next to each other, a crystal card just pops so much more. So yeah, I'm a big fan. And then of course, obviously, you know, the crystal Charizard is very expensive, but some of the other ones I feel like are still a little undervalued compared to gold stars. Next is from Derek Thel. Hey Beard, what is your thoughts on PSA 9 cards being cheaper than raw copies? Always felt that was unnecessary. Thanks for your input. So it's actually pretty simple. When you're looking at a raw modern card, you basically got like a 50-50 chance on if it gets a PSA 10 or not. Of course, depending on what's said and what type of rarity. But when you're looking at a PSA 9, it is a PSA 9. So people will always, usually choose that raw card over that PSA 9 just because in their head they think it has a much better chance of getting that PSA 10. But if PSA keeps these tiers, gone, like the lower tiers, then that could potentially make PSA 9s worth a lot more because there's going to be barely any of them on the market, especially for these newer cards. And then too, if it's like a super low pop card for modern, I could see 9s being worth a little bit more too. But still, it's not going to be worth like thousands more or hundreds more than a raw copy. Next is from Pete Schweizer. Question, you can only have one. Would you rather hold multiple copies of the Bubble Mew PSA 10 or Trikachu PSA 10 for the next 5 or 10 years? So the Bubble Mew is technically slightly tougher to grade. There's a lot more Bubble Mew PSA 10s just because it's been out a lot longer. But in my opinion, I think the Trikachu is a way better and way cleaner card. I'm not obsessed with the Bubble Mew at all. I barely wanted to buy it at $100 in my opinion, kind of a hot take. But I think the Trikachu is the best Pikachu card we've gotten. I think it's just so clean. And it's the perfect scene for Pikachu. Plus, Pikachu is more popular than Mew, and it comes in a more popular set. But like I said, it's not as easy to grade, and the Bubble Mew kind of defined this entire era, to where the Trikachu, there's just so many good cards just in that set alone. The Gengar almost overshadows the Trikachu sometimes. But in my opinion, I would go Trikachu just because I like the card so much more. Next is from Cool Arrow. Any plans on hosting your own trade show in the future? So I thought about it. I do think I would throw a really, really good show, especially because I've vended all over the country with all these different types of shows, and I've seen what shows do good and what shows do not do good. But it does look super stressful, and I'm all about getting rid of all my stress, so maybe down the road in a few years. And the number one thing I would do, though, is make sure it's like $5 to get into this card show, and I would try to get parking completely free. Like, that's my number one goal, because if I can save people $20, $30, $40, $50 and get them in the building, that just makes the show so much better for the fans. But yeah, I've seen how shows, treat their creators, their vendors, and their fans, and they all do it differently. And the thing that I would absolutely love to do, and I'm sure someone might steal this, but I would actually go out of my way to find the best vendors in the world that deal with other types of TCGs. Because even myself, I love vintage Yu-Gi-Oh! And vintage Digimon. I never see it at a show. Like, it's so rare. Like, I would make sure that I have the biggest Yu-Gi-Oh! Vendor there, the biggest Digimon vendor, stuff like that, One Piece and Lorcana, just so we actually got a little bit of everything for everyone. So as you can tell, I have definitely put some thought into it, but it'll probably be a year or two away. Next is from Kevin Sanchez. Hey, Beard, love your content. I have 4 Ascended Heroes PC ETBs. Uh-oh. Paid retail. Would you trade the Ascended Heroes Pokemon Center ETB? I knew it. For either Evolving Skies regular ETB or Prismatic Evolutions Pokemon Center ETB, which would you prioritize for long-term hold, and how would you rank the 3 of them? So I think Ascended is much better than Prismatic Evolutions, just an all-around set-wise, and I think people just have a better experience with it. Even though Prismatic, it's tough to beat just pure evolutions. And the Evolving Skies regular ETB is sick, but it does not have that Pokemon Center stamp promo, and it's not nearly as exclusive as a Pokemon Center ETB. But again, I do like a little bit of variety, to where myself, I would probably be okay with trading 1 Ascended Heroes ETB for a Prismatic one and 1 for an Evolving Sky. So that way you got 2 Ascended, 1 Evolving, and 1 Prismatic. But I do have a feeling the 4 Ascended might outperform the Evolving Skies and the Prismatic. But like as a collection, I like to get a little bit of everything. So up to you. Next is from Sunny Beering 5948. Hey Beard, what are your views on modern slabs versus vintage slabs? I was thinking about trading a Bubble Mew PSA 10 and Gengar from Ascending Heroes PSA 10 for Raichu Fossil First Edition PSA 10. Which one do you think is better for the long term? So I'm a vintage guy. In my opinion, I'm going with the Raichu Fossil First Edition. That pop is like 160 or something like that. I think last sale is right around 6-ish K. You just got to think, you have a card that literally only like 150 other people on the planet have. You can go to any card show and you have like a 0.00001% chance of finding another one of those. But you can literally go to any card show in the world and you will find a Bubble Mew and a PSA 10 and the Gengar from Ascended Heroes. So I can see more modern people that just started, they'd rather have those 2 cool, super, popular cards. But in my opinion, that Raichu is literally history in itself. Plus, it's just so rare. It's just a little scary to get it now when all the low pop stuff is happening. You know, I'm sure it was $3,000 6 months ago or a year ago. But in my opinion, I would much rather have that Raichu first edition fossil card. It's just so much more rare. Next is from Kenny Crump. Hey Pokebird, I'm pretty new to vending and have done a few shows now. How do you balance keeping a PC and long-term plays versus putting everything out as inventory? Most people say not to keep a PC if you want to scale quickly, but a lot of the cards I have seem like solid long-term holds. Is not buying anything for your PC a necessity if scaling quickly is your goal in your opinion? I started with about $3,000 in inventory, which was my whole PC, and have grown that to about $16,000 from a combination of reinvesting the sales and injecting more of my own cash. At some point, it feels like reinvesting everything reaches diminishing returns of what I can sell as a solo vendor. So it's kind of different for everybody. Like myself, I'm kind of in a special situation because I have YouTube and I have sponsorships to where like vending, you know, I technically don't even need to vend at all. Like I don't really vend for like my living. I just vend because it's super fun. I get to travel all over the country and I get to meet a ton of amazing fans that I would normally never in a million years get to meet. So it's just so much fun and it's an awesome way to grow my collection and you can make a lot of money doing it. So, you know, for the people that are saying not to have a PC, you can tell those are people that honestly just started in the hobby a year or two ago and they're only here to strictly sell and make money. But if you want a PC, just make a list, be smart, narrow it down as much as possible, really think about it. And then when one of those cards comes across your table, you know, you can maybe think about picking it up. And then you definitely need to do long-term plays. You know, anyone who says to just buy stuff constantly and just automatically flip it right away and never keep anything for some long-term plays, I don't think they're doing it right. Like there's so many awesome promos that are literally just a couple bucks that instead of making 50 cents or $1 on that card, you might as well just throw it into a binder or a box and just leave it alone. Especially if you do plan on being here for the next year or two, which a lot of vendors right now, they're not planning on that. Especially if there is a downturn, wait till you see how many vendors will leave this space. Like it'll be so quick, like 70% of all vendors will just disappear. And they're just going to sell all their vending stuff to the actual really, really big vendors that will still be here when the hobby slows down because they've been here for a very long time. So yeah, definitely think about some long-term plays. If you got a gut feeling about a card, just hold on to it. And then too, always look for clean copies. Even if you're not grading right now, you should be checking out a ton of, you know, decent cards. And if they're clean copies, start a pile. You know, don't sell them. Just hold on to them. Wait for the lower tiers to come back. And you will have so many cards soon enough to where you're not even going to know what to do with them. All right, next is from Josie1128. Yellow, Mr. Beard. I was wondering, would it be worth to submit to PSA with the increased prices due to their backlog, or should I wait until PSA grading prices go down? For context, I have a Sleepy Dragonite from Evolving Skies, and I'm 99.9% sure it's a 10. This would be the first time I submitted a card for grading. So the only time I would ever recommend doing that is if it is a bigger card like the Dragonite, and if you plan on selling it. If you do not plan on selling that card, do not get it graded right now. Just wait, save yourself, you know, $60 or $70 and wait for the lower tiers to come back. Next is from Mike Zangle. Hey Beard, this is one of my favorite series. Keep up the great work. Thank you. From a vendor perspective, what are your thoughts on CGC Pristine 10 versus PSA 10? I've read that there is a slight premium on Pristines, but do vendors typically want to take those in? I know it depends on the Pokemon and pop, but just curious as I have a few and I'm looking at some others since the label just looks so much better in my opinion. Trying to think about the future of if I ever need to sell, thanks. So CGC Pristine 10s, they do sell, and they do usually sell for a little more than a PSA 10. But if I had to guess, you'd probably sell one Pristine CGC 10 to maybe every 50 PSA 10s. Because then you got to think, too, they're more expensive than a PSA 10. And a PSA 10 is technically more popular and more collected. So there's not going to be too many collectors that are going to be looking at a, you know, $1,500 CGC Pristine 10, and then there's a $1,100 PSA 10, and then they choose the CGC Pristine 10. But you will eventually find someone to take them. Just really depends on the cards. If they're really popular Pokemon on really popular cards, they're definitely a little bit easier to move. But I usually try to stay away from CGC Pristines just because I have so many people offering me PSAs and they're just 10 times easier to sell. Next is from Mark Deely. Hey Beard Master, do you think booster bundles will be just as good of an investment as booster boxes long term? Not even going to read the rest of that. 100% yes. I actually just mentioned this in one of my last videos. I can't even remember, last week or something like that. I do think booster bundles will be one of the most open products and most bought products in the future when everything gets expensive, because you're not paying for extra promos. You're not paying for a ton of extra stuff. It's basically just like a little mini booster box. And when a booster box is $2-3 grand, like you mentioned at the end, you know, when the prices get super expensive, and a booster bundle's, you know, $300-$400, a lot of people are going to pick that booster bundle over that booster box just because it's so much more affordable. Because once stuff gets over like 500 or 1,000, there's just so many people who cannot afford that stuff. But all right, last question. This is from Michael Ria, a member. Hey Beard, love the relaxing content, UK viewer here. Recently bought Charmander PC promo and Charmander Build-A-Bear Workshop promo, both sealed in their cellophane packaging. Is there a markup in price because it's still in the cellophane? For me, I feel like it makes zero difference in price, but I know some think so. I bought mine at near mint unsealed cost. So there is definitely a difference between a sealed promo and a unsealed promo price-wise, especially for anything like mid-era or vintage. Modern, not nearly as much, really depends on the card and how clean the actual cellophane is. But people just like to have stuff in its original wrapping, which, I mean, I kind of get it. But for modern stuff, though, I'm kind of like you. I don't really care too much if it's, you know, sealed or not sealed. But for like a vintage one, to have one sealed from, you know, 25, 30 years ago that a kid never opened up, I think it's kind of cool. And then a lot of times, too, people just automatically assume that the sealed one is in much better condition than a loose one, which can be true some of the times. Just depends on, you know, who owned it and stuff like that. But all right. That was this week's Pokemon What If Wednesday. If you guys like this content, want to stay ahead of the market, please make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave a like and comment. If you guys want to support more, check out my Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube membership, all that. You guys know what to do. You guys are the absolute best. And definitely download the Fanatics Collect app and follow my channel on there. Our next show will be Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, so set your alarms, and we'll be giving away a Mimikyu promo during that live stream. But all right, I want you guys to have a great day. And if you guys want to watch my last vending video where someone gave me a 151 Charizard to give away, click the video above. Otherwise, I have an entire playlist full of all my other vending videos. You guys can check those out as well. But all right, we'll see you next time.